Second.
All right. Call the meeting to order. All those who can, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. TV doing.
Oh, I've met your dad.
All right,
Works every time.
roll call, please.
We have one thing, trustee, not sure if Joe is. Other things going on tonight or not, but he's missing.
Missing in action.
Mhm.
All right, I don't think we have anything to change on the
No,
agenda. Amazing.
first time in a while. It's good.
So somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support, How?
Vote please.
Cancel.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
So Judy, I think it'd be interesting to go back. I think you have made that motion every single meeting.
That's fine.
I think so too, because if I'm quiet, nobody says anything.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that
Okay,
I go.
I guess I'm on.
I almost said.
No, no,
Ms.
you want
Cooper. Okay, consent agenda approval.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I was gonna try.
Yeah.
Do I second?
Oh, yes, I'll support Lewis.
Right. Have a vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, so next item 6 is announcements. In consideration of the BDA having the tree lighting on our regularly scheduled board meeting, which is the 5th. There's been a request by a couple people to move that meeting to the following Monday, which is the 12th. Is that correct?
Correct.
So let me ask this, Missy, is there any reason that we can't change, not now, but next year move the tree lighting to the following Monday?
It has always been historically the first Monday, and people have come to expect that. So
I
that's,
say next year, it's another meeting in the 12th. Or whatever the second meeting.
Yeah, we'll try to.
That's,
and on.
That's fine, we can,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to set that up for the next
Yeah.
board meeting, so. All right,
Yeah, we'll have the calendar and next agenda.
yeah, it's-
all right,
So do we want to, going forward, have our summer meeting at the second week?
Yes, please.
I think that's great. We need to support that.
White elephant, yes.
Yeah.
Joe?
Albert, yes.
Oh, sure, okay, we're in. All right, so apparently we don't have to vote on that at this point in time,
It's,
according to Lisa, is that it? Did you ask Lisa about that?
yeah, so.
I don't know why-
No, so we
I don't
put
know
out,
why we have to.
we put the meetings out as a courtesy in the paper. And then if there's any changes, we normally just decide.
Why don't we just do this to be on the safe side? So I'll
Yeah.
make a motion that we move this December's board meeting from the 5th to December 12th
Support,
to
Howell.
accommodate the tree lighting.
I support that.
Okay, vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. not here, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. The township offices will be closed Friday, November 11th for Veterans Day. The Veteran Day ceremony will be at 11 o'clock at the Highland Memorial Park. All veterans are invited to attend. Recognition ceremonies at 11, 10, 22 at 12 p.m. at Milford High School, 11, 11, 22 at 8:30 a.m. at Kurtz Elementary, 11:14 at 8:20 a.m. at Muir Middle School. 11:14 at 11:45 at Oak Valley Middle School, and on 11:15 at 11 o'clock at Lakeland High School.
Our ceremony, the veterans come at 11. Our ceremony actually starts about 12:20 with Lakeland, but 11 o'clock is when we have the veterans who start arriving. So anybody would like to come, we'd love to have you come over. Rick, you come in the past. I don't you need to come, you come before too. And Chuck's a veteran, right? If he wants to come, right? Want to invite anybody else is a veteran. Love to have him come out and any of the ceremonies, of course, but I would love to have him come to Lakeland. Because theirs is the best. Okay.
So the program's at,
We're the original.
the program's at 12:20.
12:20 is when it starts, the actual program, but if you want to come early, it's always nice to, meet with the veterans. We have a little luncheon and. It's good.
Right, so
Oh, yeah, that's why we started.
we'll do public comment, but I want to start out with, I want to do a little presentation. If you look at the TV over here, you'll see, let's see if we can enlarge this a little bit. This is the skate park on Saturday. They had a special event. And the place was packed out.
Oh,
I mean, it was cool.
Rick, when you can. Skateboard.
So let me see if I can get to,
They went to last ski.
oh.
so
Oh, wow.
Nice.
let me open that up. Maybe. Guess not. It's gonna fight me. That's a. This was really a cool event. I think that, let's see if this one's on video. I have a video of these guys flying over this thing. But if you look at the amount of activity, a number of people here, Shane Anderson is the
Oh, nice.
individual that pretty much started all this stuff. Let's see, and this is Shane right here. He's got an incredible social media connection. I mean, he puts stuff on social media and the next day they got people there. And while is let's see, there's another guy in here that see if this guy flies by. Might be this one. No. Anyways, I met a fellow here that's from Birmingham who today was working with the Ralph Wilson Foundation to get skateboard parks. It turns out they have cordoned off the southeast section of the state of Michigan as the prime area for spending $2.8 billion
Wow.
on skate parks. Now, the interesting thing is I talked with Shane about that, and the deal is it's 50-50 match. And a minimum of 300,000. So that means you've got 600,000 you're gonna spend on that. Let me get to
Is that
an
Ralph
over.
Wilson used to own the Buffalo Bills?
Yep. See if I got an overview of the park here. And one. Whoop. Trying. Guess not in this. Anyways, the park that we have installed right here is, if you were to pay it out in terms of having somebody do it, or an equivalent park, would be somewhere around between $85,000 and $100,000. They've got $18,000 invested in it. And all of the money was fundraised by Shane on a GoFundMe. And had every time he'd call for help, they get people out there to help come and do cement work. And they get enough money to do a truckload of cement. They come and pour a truckload of cement. Sometimes they have extras. So but $18,000. So the conversation that Shane and I had was, why would you go fundraise 300,000 and spend 600,000 when for another $60,000 you could finish the park with doing it the way they're doing it? So it's one of those things where you have to tend to ask. Usually you don't get this kind of an opportunity where the people will do the work themselves. But I just it was so impressive because the interesting part was the ages.
Yeah.
I mean, they were from, 4 or 5 years old, all the way up to 50, 60 years old on skateboards out there. And nobody got hurt. And they just was really impressive. They did a great job. So I just wanted to fill everybody in on how far those guys came along with that. And I think it was just
That's awesome.
and it was one of those things where Shane came up to me a couple of years ago and said, is there any place in Highland? He lives in Heartland, any place in Highland where you can build a skate park? He says, if you build this thing, kids will be all over this thing. And I said, right here, because in the original design thing, there was a space left for a skate park. And I just figured it took 20 years to get one in Milford.
Right.
And essentially 2.5 years, including COVID, in there. I mean, so really impressive, really impressive.
Rick, do you remember when we campaigned? It might have been the first time. I think we were in 7 harbors. I'm not 100% sure. We were talking to those kids. One of those, I remember where we were on one of those early streets.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you want? And I go, we want a skate park.
Yeah.
And I go, well, we'll see what we can do. Well, it took a while, but we got one. So campaign promise, check. There you go. So no, but I'm just saying, I remember talking to those kids and that's what they wanted. What do you want most? And they go, we don't have any say. Well, what would you like? We'd like to skate. A skate park would be cool. So.
Well, a little more than 20 years ago, my mom and dad lived across the street from the former town hall in one of the duplexes. And I'd go over there and we'd have dinner and I'd see these kids sliding up and down the handrail at the sheriff's office. They had no idea there was a sheriff's office either. They were waxing up the cement. That's why it's always ugly looking, and I went up to them, I said, you kids want a skate park? I said, you're skating at the police station. We are, they never came back and I didn't mean to chase them away. It's just one of those things where, so I told them, I said, if you guys put together a little game plan, some pictures of what you'd like to do, we could see if we could try and get a park. And that's before I had anything to do with this 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, right.
And a couple of those kids stayed involved and they ended up being the ones that were driving the Milford thing. Because it wasn't going to happen in Highland at that time. I mean, it wasn't going to get anywhere with it at that time. And so I think it's really cool to see how far that's come. And those same kids, they're like Shane is 38. And it's really interesting to see, what he could pull together and how he could manage that thing. So, and another interesting thing on that is this guy that I met in Birmingham, his last name is Skewes. And for some reason, when he pulled in the parking lot, I saw this guy, he was like balding. I said, wow, man, these old guys, are even skating. So I kind of cued in on this guy. It turns out he's related to me.
Oh, really?
And I have this sword from the Knights of Columbus that belonged to William Skewes that is his relative to, from the Larium and up in the UP, Keweenaw Peninsula. So I gave him the sword. I mean, Hamill, even though it's one of my direct relatives, it's also one of his. And he was like, yeah, man, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to pull his family together. But it's what you meet and who you meet at events like this are kind of
It's cool.
character. But I'm not going to turn down if you can get somebody to donate the money for it. Why turn it down? But so anyways, we'll move on.
It's awesome.
And
Good job. That sounds like.
I thank you guys for seeing the value in that skate park.
Oh, yeah.
So
What what is he affiliated with, Shane? Nothing, because I was trying to just find out when I last.
no, just he lived in Hawaii. His grandfather lives in Heartland and he lives on his grandfather's property, but he had moved to Hawaii for a number of years. And then he moved back because his grandfather was getting old and he's staying and helping him, you know, so. But they have a barn and Shane built an unbelievable skate park inside this barn. All out of, you know, wood and stuff.
Fiber?
So, but they had skateboards that they gave away, brand new skateboards. They had the Red Bull disc jockey guy out there. And, you know, I told him, I said, be considerate of the library. And they had, the audio was perfect. They didn't have it blowing anybody out. There was somebody did a little bit of graffiti on a piece of the park and on the porta-john. And he managed to find out who it was by graffiti on the kid's board.
Oh,
And so he took the kid aside and told him, hey, you know, you want to ruin it for everybody? Keep the paint off of the skate park. He says, you know, you see skate parks all painted up. He said, that's not what you want to do. You want to maintain your park and keep it clean. And kid ponied up, said, yeah, he did it. So they made him clean it up. But self-policing, so that's good. All right, so any public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Nope.
I'm here. I just want to, I've heard a lot of good things about the new car wash.
Yeah.
I haven't been to it yet myself, but I've heard some of that stuff on Facebook and stuff, how impressed people are by that. So that's good. It's a good thing.
All right, anybody else? Okay, so we'll move on. Number 8 is the pending business discussion of the 2023 proposed budget. So hopefully we should be able to cruise through this pretty good. What I've done is in here, you'll see as we go along.
Starting like page 5.
I'll call the pages off for you. If you look in there, there's kind of a pinky colored highlight on some of the changes that were made. So we'll start on page 2 because there's no changes on the first page. And I want you to look at the revenue and the differential between the revenue. Revenue stayed the same, but when we went through and looked at the numbers, the expenditures went down from 3,931,444 to 3,221,444. And that's an increase in the differential between the revenue and the expenditures of $408,839. So that's a pretty healthy amount of money to be able to. What was that, Jay?
We took the ARPA funds out of
Yeah.
expenditures. Yeah, 710,000.
So the next item is on page 5. Go to page 5. Under general government equipment capital outlay. Originally, I had $15,000 in there. And I upped that to 25,000 to make sure that we covered the cost of the snow plow and this SkyTrack lift. The lift goes on the back of the tractor, and it's a scissors lift, so it'll go up like 28 feet. So then you can do all the street lights that we have to pay people to do. Then your general maintenance person can do the lights, can put up the banners, can repair, can trim trees in the park that you can't reach, so if you're going down a pathway, you can clear the pathway, so on and so forth. The next item is on page 7. And that's under annex, building maintenance. We'd originally had 20,000 in there, but it was for septic and fence and some other things, and we moved that to capital improvement and dropped this down to 5,000 from 20,000. So that was a $15,000 drop there. The next item is on page 9. And that's just pretty much looking at the change in the revenue and expenditures and then the ending fund balance. So the previous documents you had, the total fund expenditures was 3,931,444. We took out the 710,000. So that dropped it to 3,221,44. The net revenue over expenditures was 408,839. You add the 710 to it, it's now 1,118,839. Then our beginning fund balance was 2,757,649. And after you do the math on that, the ending fund balance will be $3,876,488. That's an increase of $1,410,000 over the previous, which was $2,466,488. And I think that for me, the very positive thing about that change in the number is you think about, we just built a town hall. And we did it on money that was saved over probably 25 years, I would imagine.
Easy.
And it's fully funded, fully paid for. Yet at the end of this coming year, we should have 3.8 million in the fund balance to start out the year with. So, and that's after everything is covered in expenses. So that's a pretty positive thing. We're almost as good as the lieutenant on how he manages his budget. We're watching you. That's what we're learning from. Okay, the next item,
I have a question.
yes,
At the community roundtable, we talked a lot about a marketing person. Have you given any more thought to that? Did you want to discuss that at all with the board?
I haven't really thought about it at this point, but
Okay.
it's not something, I mean, it's something that's easy enough to do. I think there's enough revenue there to be able to look at something like that.
It's just that, like you talked about the social media thing with the skate park. It just seems like it could make such a difference, and it's so time intensive as well as it's constantly changing. Yeah, you almost need somebody, I think, with that expertise.
The interesting part is there is an age break
There's a definite age break.
where you cannot communicate. I mean, the young people, I mean, they can. They
But
said
you
they
need
put
that
something out
skill
there and you
set
got
that
people
can
showing up.
Everybody. And I think we need it so bad. But
Yeah.
just my 2 cents on that one.
Well, right now Tammy and Karen Provo are really trying to hit every aspect
Absolutely,
of.
but it's overwhelming.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
and I
Big
find-
job.
I wish we could be more effective than we have been. I notice every day people calling us with the same questions over and over, and I just posted about it. And I'm like, we're not as effective as I think we could be with somebody professional who really could focus on it. We're sort of hodgepodging it, I would say.
Maybe it's time we really seriously look at it. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going at it a little bit here and a little bit there, and I mean,
Well, there's
everybody has somewhere else to focus on. I mean, you're stretched.
a couple of positions actually that we need to look at. One is a full-time maintenance,
Agreed.
park maintenance manager, outdoor, bigger than just a cleaner. And not that Jeremy's not doing his job, but on part-time, you can't cover it all. And it needs to kind of go to that where you've got a full-time person and that part-time person could accomplish a lot. And the parks have, I would say, I'd have to admit they've suffered because of
And
time.
we had that for a while, but Mark's focus
Was
was
lawn.
lawn cutting, and I
Then
think it
we-
was more cost effective to hire
Yeah,
Freedom Works to do that, which made all kinds of sense.
Which they might.
But you've
be
got a
around
building
forever.
you've got a building that's over twice the size of the previous building.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
so anyways, those are two things that we move into the next year. We need to really start looking at that. And we'll move forward here then.
We're saying two things, you said the full part of the maintenance.
And the marketing.
All in the markets, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, it was-
I just
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up at board level too, to make sure that everybody knew that that's part of the conversation at the community round.
Sure, oh, yeah, I mean, it's important.
That
you
seems to
can't-
always be our focus. That's what we always come back to is communication and how do we better communicate between all the departments and the just different factions of the community.
I think I'm probably the best example of the guy that tries to do everything himself. And you just can't do it all.
You can't do it all,
And to
and
put
nobody
that,
expects you to
to
do
put
it all.
that impetus on Tammy and Karen, who are both working their butts off and other stuff. I mean, they understand the process, but you can't just kind of part-time out there.
No.
It should be a priority, and, you know, we're all, everybody, whatever you're all talking, and I know, I don't see the inside of it all the time, what you guys are dealing with, I think it's be a priority for
Well, I
us.
look at other communities too, and the communities that seem to have a handle on that stuff are ones that have individuals that's their job.
And the beauty of Heartland's, which we worked with the gal from Heartland when we worked on the brand, was she worked for Heartland, the Chamber of Commerce, and the schools. So she knew what was going on in the business community, the schools, and the township. I mean, she had a complete overview, so she could do an amazing job, but she had the expertise and she had the complete overview. It was perfect situation. So we could share, hopefully, maybe we could share it with the schools and,
They have a person, they have actually a department. They have a full-time and
but
then,
maybe we could share that position with them.
yeah, I don't, and I mean, like, we don't have the same chamber situation because our school district covers 4 townships.
That's
Where
true.
Heartland is one
It's
township,
specific.
one school district, one chamber,
Mhm.
all within the same
Solid.
borders. We have a different situation.
Still a good point.
But if we did hire someone within the township, I mean, there's communication needs from the activity center to the fire
Exactly.
department to the DDA. I mean, their DDA is doing a great job. But, you know, coordination of efforts and
Yeah.
all of that and covering all of that.
Well, I'm kind of on that same note is, the library has an individual who does all of the graphics.
Liz, yeah.
No,
it's not
they have
Liz.
they've hired a
Oh, I didn't
individual
know
to do it.
that.
And I immediately, Liz did a great job with that. I guess it was spring or something like that. I saw their.
The new newsletter, yeah.
The newsletter came out, wow, that thing really pops. That thing is just very different. And it turns out they have a professional that does it, and she is part-time, but she's available. So that's something that we can look at that, and it can take some of the, you know,
Yeah.
by combining that graphics ability with the rest of the marketing stuff could make a huge difference. So. Right, good,
Yeah, good.
good stuff. All right, so we'll move on to the next, page 10. Fire chief, the previous package I gave you a couple weeks ago. Ken cheated himself. He didn't give himself a raise, and everybody else is in the 5% category. So that number's been corrected to reflect that. So that's under fire chief's compensation.
She made it 7,947, so it'd be the same front and back, $3 more.
So you know which version you have of this thing? On the front page over here on the right hand side, it says version, it has a date on it. So your old one, if you're having to pick up the previous one and look at it, you'll see the version's different. Okay, on page 12.
We're going to the police.
What's that?
We're going to the police now.
Fire.
Okay, all right.
On page 12, the previous version, I just wanted to see the changes in this. The net revenue came up a little bit shorter by about $3,900. This is in the green block that's in there. So the
Where are you talking?
Yep.
Right here?
Yep.
The fund summary for fire operating.
Yep, so you got your,
Net revenue under over expenditures.
but there was some changes in some of the other components of it. So anyways, what happened is the beginning fund balance. How did that work? Well, the beginning fund balance
Is
in
not
the
nice.
prior one was 1,121,663. And in the amended column, it went up to 1,342,863. And there's some funny stuff.
There
about that
is.
thing.
So what I had done in the amended one before was what Ken and I had come up with was actually happening.
I went through this with Amy, and that's the part that's kind of funny here.
Mhm.
Gonna have to review that one.
I see beginning balance is the same the next year. Oh, because it was zero,
Right,
because you didn't do anything in appropriation fund
Right.
balance. They spent even,
Right.
so it carries forward, it's all.
but I don't think that happened. But maybe it did.
Well, so-
Well, in the top, it's 40.
What's that?
There's an allocation request in the fund balance transfer at the end of the one.
Yes, speak up.
There's a fund balance transfer at the end of the board meeting.
Yes.
A
that's-
budget
that's what it's-
amendment.
that's what it is.
And the 702 wasn't in there for general. That's tonight too.
So anyways, in the prior one, what happened was the 40 to 60% of the expenditure requirement by our board policy, it was short. It was actually 33%, but now with the changes that have occurred in this version, it's over the
437,263.
so anyways, it's over the minimum requirement.
And they're, at the end of the meeting, they're gonna ask for an $81,000 budget amendment.
For 22.
Yeah,
Yep, that's it.
okay. That just affects 22.
Correct. Well, which affects
So for 23.
23,
you gotta-
that you're short, you start out 80,000 less.
I think that may be in this number.
Good luck. I can't help you.
All right, so police fund, that hasn't changed. What was that?
I don't still feel
This is for later. It's
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, it's not like you bring a balance forward.
So,
beginning balance.
Oh, in the financials,
Oh.
but not in the budget.
Hmm.
In the budget, you're just starting with whatever the revenues are.
Yes.
that's not relative to the financial statements.
No,
Okay, so police, everything's still copacetic on that, so nothing's changed. And there is allocation in there for a new deputy. That's a reminder. And the money's there to cover it, so. Does that bring it up to 20? How many? 20, okay. Refuse is not changed from the previous. And then we go to capital improvements.
Can I ask a question about refuse? When do we have to decide what we're charging? Do we already set our rate for next year?
you set the rates, but we didn't do a special assessment
Increase.
letter yet, did we?
No, there hasn't been one since 2018. We found one. And we got a FOIA.
Speaking of that, there's supposed to be where we. What did Lisa call that? It's where we state what the collections are gonna be.
Yes, and-
For 0.6 mils and all that stuff.
We did
Didn't we do
that. Yeah, we do that every year.
The
Yes,
truth in taxation.
That's it.
yes. we
If she
do
asked me that tonight, and I
But we
said,
didn't
I
have
thought we
special
did.
on it because it wasn't
Put it in a
winter.
separate- letter, but we should do that like next month for sure.
Yeah, it was not, any of our radars, but we did a FOIA and we found one. When it changed, but after that, after it changed up to 165, we never did another one.
We left it.
Okay,
We do if there's,
if there's a township special, right?
a special from like lawn cutting or blight
Yeah.
or,
Yeah,
but,
so it would be part of that.
yeah, we just never
We
had.
changed it.
Did we
If we
do that one for this year? The
Not yet.
lawn cutting? So could we still increase the garbage rate for next year?
You can if you want.
We could, but we're all set.
Well, I know it's even, but that does not give us any money towards next year's.
Our ending fund balance at the end of 23 should be 240,000.
Well, the thing is, the next hazardous waste is 2024.
Well, except for what Karen Provo has been sending us is that we could join. Excuse my,
I think that,
no has.
I looked at that, and I think it'd be a dismal failure,
Okay.
because you're gonna require people to go to either Orion Township. or
Right,
some other
Clarkson, there was
township.
a 4 other, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna go dump it in the woods before they.
Yeah.
It's too far.
It's
Okay.
too far to go,
So-
and the other part was is that it was $100 and some odd dollars a car.
We don't do cars anymore.
Not
No,
under-
it's
So-
way in the,
No, but if you're taking your stuff, it's gonna cost that individual $100 and some odd dollars.
Oh, wow.
But at the site. It's either what we want them to pay. We paid $100.
I'm saying it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we'd be
that's,
paying a whole
that's
lot
what we
less
pay.
than Orion.
that's kind of what we pay
Nobody's
now.
driving to
isn't it?
Orion to dump their guys.
well, you'll have a lower cost because you'll have way fewer people show up to get
Exactly.
their stuff. And the key is to train them to not bring latex paint in. Because that's one of the biggest costs. It's weight.
Refuse it.
So
We're gonna have to start.
where this all started was that normally in our non-hazardous waste years, we make up a little bit of ground to save up for, since we're doing in the hazardous waste year. Unless you want to pay for the whole hazardous waste out of 1 year's.
Right, so to make $85,000. With 6,500 residents, I know it's just a number low, but I grabbed it, it'd be $13 a resident,
Mhm.
so. It's 165, so you're looking at 178.
Yeah, but we don't need to do, because we do it every other year.
Right.
So it'd be maybe half that,
So $6, $6.50.
right? We could probably even get away with 5.
We haven't raised it in years.
Right.
I think 2018,
Well, before
right,
when I was at White Lake, it was $168 here. So it's over 25 years.
so you could
Crazy.
enact it next year, still with the $5. Pay for hazardous waste out of 40,000 you collect and 240,000 you have and then,
Yeah, but the fund balance isn't that strong in that fund.
Doesn't need it.
but it covers itself, I mean, we don't spend more than we take in.
Right, but usually a fund balance is to help, in case there's some kind of problems or whatever.
You got 246 remaining,
So if you divide by 85.
and 85,000 2 years later, so the following year, you're gonna have 500.
No, that is, we're projected to break even
Oh,
and have no increase or decrease to our fund balance. And
What,
3,000, yeah.
what's your deadline for stuff to county? Was it October 15th?
Oh, yeah. Yes, they just sent it out, yeah.
yes, so it's too late to change it for this year. Okay,
I don't know. if it-
then if it's a done deal, it's a
so
done
the
deal.
answer is too late
So with the 200,
next year.
Good to know.
with the 246,000, you could get 3 $85,000 events out of it. So if we started collecting next year. And that. In the year 24,
But it's below the fund balance policy too, is what Tammy's saying.
it
Right.
doesn't have,
I don't know that this.
I don't
one-
think that's effective. Because it's not a fund we can use for anything
Right.
but trash. So it's not like a,
I just
Right.
don't like the idea of dropping it below what it's at right now.
I get that.
But
Okay.
if we can't raise it, then we can't.
all right. That stays as it is for now. Page 15. Capital improvements. Annex improvements. I put, it was 20,000 and it was in, general expenses under, annex, maintenance. So we raised that to 40,000 in the event that we need to finish fixing the basement. We need to, fix the fence along the back. Either take it down, which we could do, but at this point, I think it's best to leave a fence up there. And then the septic is suspect. So we have to be prepared for that. It's not even a normal septic, it's two
What dry wells?
So it works, but it's two dry wells with a tree plant right in the middle.
That weren't so musty when you walk in that building.
No, it's the basement.
No.
Actually, it's that room. What happened is the foyer is completely closed off.
Is it?
So whatever the humidity that's gathers, it doesn't clear itself out. We need to put some money into that to
Yeah, we do.
fix that. And on the annex improvements, the Mrs. Jameson passed away not too long ago.
Oh, she did? I didn't know that.
And so that property's coming up. And
That's too bad.
so we'll have to think of what we want to do with that. It's not like we have to jump on it tomorrow. It might be maybe we throw the DDA in there or something. Temporarily, and then you could have, hot tub parties and swimming pool and all kinds of stuff.
So what's the son doing then?
He's trying to get her estate squared away and then work on cleaning the stuff out,
Sure.
but
Give her some time.
he has a place to live,
Okay.
so it's not like he doesn't want to have to stay there, but there's like a 2-month period that he has to
Oh, yeah.
move things up, but I think that's a case where if he came to us, that we need a little bit more time, I don't see where we have a problem with that, but so that's kind of partly what that's about, is we don't know what's gonna happen there, but we're gonna keep the building and maybe we lease it out as a revenue thing for somebody to live in, I don't know. That opens a can of worms too.
Yeah.
Then the other thing there is resurface and paint the basketball court, tennis court. It turns out that cement's a hot commodity and almost impossible to get. So I told Kevin from the K&G, is that what it is?
CNG.
That K&R, to not feel obligated to finish it this fall because he could order the cement, and they a week ago we ordered cement for the skate park, and supposed to show up in the afternoon on a Friday, and so we decided to call and find out. They just canceled us and didn't even bother to tell us they canceled us because they couldn't get any of the Portland.
Oh, wow.
So they were able, they had enough for one truck for the day, so they were shut them down. And that seems to be the biggest problem, is you can't get enough cement, so. And maybe the price will go down, it's that
Yeah.
commodity stuff, but. So we'll pick that up in the spring, so I shifted the cost into that line item. So I set that at 125,000 to get those finished. And it turns out this pickleball thing has turned into we might have to think that part over too, in terms of,
We might have to do just one court for pickleball.
or you sacrifice the hockey rink and turn it into pickleball courts.
Well, either way, but that's just a whole nother cost to get it surfaced.
Yeah, but anyways, it's like. I didn't know there was so many super aficionados in the pickleball world.
Pickleball.
From 9 till noon every
Because
day.
they've been
That's
putting
it.
it on the news.
So that's the
Cause the football player endorsed it or something, right?
So in the capital improvement fund, we increased the cost by 147,000. And so that reduced our ending fund balance by 147,000. But we still have 478,000 in there, and we're gonna have to do something with the money that we probably are gonna have left over. At some point. You got zero left over this year,
It's, yeah, that's why we're transferring 700,000 to capital improvement.
so anyways, the following year, we should be okay.
We'll be at zero, yes.
Yep. So, that's all I have on that, so if anybody's, got any questions? Do I have this out of sync here?
No. It's capital, little fire capital and the DDA.
Yep.
You want to go over to DDA at all with this year?
Missy, you want us to go through that? Anybody have any questions?
Page 17 is the DDA expenses. Well, 16 is the revenue. I haven't heard you.
We increased our design quite a bit, but there's a lot of fun things coming.
That looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, the design went from 36,900 to 51,000.
I don't have my work plans with me, but
Farmers market, we increased it to 10,000 from 6,000.
yeah, that's to include salary or not salary, include
Yeah,
payment to the marketing manager.
they had a farmers market manager this year and it worked out greatly.
Right.
He's a vendor and the manager, so he's there every Saturday.
I think the key is that, the DDA is quite solid, an ending fund balance would be 244,200. And
So at the last DDA meeting, I was requested to open a CD. We thought it was 3.5%. It's 3.85%.
Where are you getting that?
CIBC.
Yeah.
I don't, they go up every week. That's their name.
So
I don't-
excited for.
It's tell me their name, Rick.
Is it Canadian Imperial?
Imperial Bank
Yeah.
Corporation.
Canadians.
No, yeah, it's not, it's Michigan. They have banks. in
Canadian dollars. That's how I guess it should
It
be.
is, it is Canadian dollars.
75% of our.
Yeah.
All right, so that-
Question.
Yes.
So, according to this revised budget,
Big job there.
I'm getting there. Fire fund operating. So according to these changes, page 12,
Well,
for 22, it says you're gonna be 221,000 under for this year. Does that concur with what you're expecting to see?
yeah,
So page 12.
yeah,
And the green black underneath the end of the expenditures for fire operating. It says net revenue over or under expenditures.
ours says 0.
Ours says 0. Is that the last one?
Oh, wait,
No.
Yeah.
wait, I was going back and forth.
You were
Sorry,
doing it last year or this year?
I was on the wrong book, sorry.
Hold on.
Yep.
All right,
Fire operating,
22.
page 12. Are you expecting to break even in your funds this year?
Doesn't look like it.
I am not, I'm already asking for a balance transfer. At the board meeting today.
From where?
Well, appropriation fund balance 206,692.
That's not a fund transfer,
It's a budget fund.
yeah. But you're still gonna use your fund balance
It's from savings.
from your,
Yes.
from your operating funds.
Now, Amy and I did talk briefly on, the changes in the actual collection of taxes and everything else. Couple other things that may have an effect on us that we could tapped into revenue this year, but for right now, we're looking at now it's.
So
I'd say it's-
Minimum at tonight, 80,000.
fund balance appropriated question. Oh, so on this, it says, if I look on appropriation fund balance line. Says we're spending about 47,000 of your fund balance.
Page one.
Right, and then
That's on
tonight,
page 10.
we're gonna ask for 81, and it'll be a total of 129.
So we're gonna spend 129 your fund balance. It's gonna decrease this year. So this little calculation here at the end is not correct.
Correct.
Yep, that's
So it's gonna go from 1.3
The-
minus 120,000 and change.
It'll be 221,200,
What,
Sure.
what?
right?
Correct.
So we're expecting an ending fund
Oh, no.
balance for 2022 of,
That's what you're talking about, beginning balance.
yeah. What's the fund balance gonna be at the end of 22? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
We,
Based
Only
on,
the auditors know. Oh,
I think the thing that's difficult here is Amy and I went through all of these things and that's the number she came up with. But
I was originally, when I made my budget proposal at the beginning of the year, I was expecting approximately, what did I say, 180,000,
yeah, 178.
170,000. For this year's operation. And that's because of opening stations.
Yeah, I know why. I just wanna know what the number is gonna be, but it's not reflected here is what I'm
It's
saying.
not.
Okay. So what I'm getting at is the ending fund balance for this year means being lower, means our ending fund balance for next year is gonna be that much lower.
Correct.
And possibly below our threshold.
Yes.
I don't know what the number is.
So I had did a prediction with chief of the overages this year and then what expected next year. And we think at the end of next year, if everything goes this year with the 221, it'll be 668,000 left at the end of 2023.
Which is below
Correct, the
our
800,000.
our desired,
Correct.
40.
right, which is why you had asked for some ARPA money.
129,000 is less than what I was anticipating based on this year. I thought we were stationed already.
Right,
We've really done a good job with our operation as far as curtailing some expenses. But we are still going to exceed what we anticipated for this year.
right. Well, I'm completely understanding that. I'm just trying to figure out what the fund balance is gonna be, and I believe it looks like it may well be underneath our target of 40% minimum.
which version are you looking at there?
This one's mine. I gave you and you refused to use. You went in with Amy, we changed up my numbers.
Right,
Again, I was expecting after 2020.
This is yours, Amy.
So then you didn't share any of that with Amy.
yeah, Amy had Jenny's copy. So bottom line is that we need to like really work on this part of it.
Okay.
And also, I don't think we're gonna get through this plan without talking about the ARPA money requests that we have had in order to keep that fund from going below our target.
So 40% on a $2 million expenditure is 800,000.
There is a solution and it's called, if you can't pay, you can't play. So maybe you don't get all the employees you need.
Because in this projected one, there's 3 employees.
But that's not the solution right now. We're gonna have to get Amy to make sure that these numbers are right, because like, so I went through this stuff, whether that should have been correct, and she wasn't there today then.
She's going over current September numbers. She's not doing projected. I had Chief do projected for the rest of the year. And Amy only sees budget amendments.
Amy and I did talk briefly about, we have certain line items in our GL accounts that we know are gonna be exceeding our.
Correct.
We based some projection off of what we've experienced so far in Florida.
Was that last week?
That was last week, and that was where we're coming up with the slight $80,000 transfer right now, is because
Right.
that's what we're anticipating.
That's the initial step
Yes.
to correct the 2022 budget.
So we have to go back to the chalkboard to get the numbers nailed down, but I think it's very likely we will have a shortfall.
So before November 12th, can we meet and talk about scenarios?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But our next meeting, we have to approve a budget.
Correct.
And so I would like us to have a little discussion on how we all feel about this idea of using some ARPA money to supplement them, to get that through that gap year. And without having to wait to add staff until that extra millage kicks in. My thought on it is, you know, our residents believe in this fire department and supported allowing them to have the staff that they need to have in order to serve the community correctly. And I support that too. And, you know, the township had a windfall with this ARPA money. We didn't expect that. And, I think it's right and fair to provide some of it to the fire department to get them through this gap year.
And the gap is because
Because
the
the
millage isn't
millage,
being collected until next year
right,
for 24's budget.
And there was overages in 22,
Right.
overtime.
Right. More runs probably than expected and. Yeah.
I can just tell you as for today, and Rick's the only one of you that actually notified of our runs, but it was 10:13 this morning. We've had 10 runs already today.
Wow, it's crazy.
One of them was a priority one transport from a motorcycle accident up on Milford Road, just south of Rose Township. And then we ran just a couple more. We can't plan for, we can plan for emergencies, and we've done our best job to prepare our department to respond to the community. But we're gonna have the days like this, and it seems like they're becoming more and more frequently. We're having multiple runs, we're having just everything happening all at once. We have been in contact with Oakland County Medical Patrol Board. We think we've got a plan moving forward that will cut down some of our transport time. We do have a tendency to transport to 104 West Bloomfield and Fort Beaumont, Royal Oak Beaumont. We are in the process, Nick and I have been looking at how we can kind of secure it to Huron Valley, Proud Park, or maybe the Genesis for trauma centers and therapy trauma center, which would really short our turnaround.
How does that work if someone calls an ambulance? Does the person that you're servicing have the choice?
In the old days, Oakland County said that if you were a transporting agency, because most departments use private ambulances, you were a transporting agency, if they wanted to go to Toledo Hospital, you take them to Toledo Hospital.
Really?
St. Joe's and Ann Arbor.
Yeah, as more and more fire departments are having to take over the EMS because the EMS is collapsing around the country. They're conscious of we're a municipal resource, and it's not fair for us to be transporting for an hour and a half to someplace for patient care. So if they're priority free patient, you want to go to one of these hospitals? No, okay, we'll call a private ambulance for you, or we'll load you into the car and get you to the hospital.
So priority 3 is not an emergency.
Right, and that's where it may need to be treated at a hospital, but it's not a life or death set. Right. We're doing everything we can to try and curtail our spending. Again, we know that our budget, our new village will take effect in 2024.
Just around the corner.
Blink of an eye. Just a slow blink right now.
I'm comfortable with that just because it's a one-time thing. It's not something that we're supporting that's not sustainable. the millage is coming to support it next year.
Right. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to throw one-time money at an ongoing expense,
Exactly.
but, it's,
Well, here's the question. What happens with these amendments? We're using a component of it to project what the budget's gonna be.
Mhm.
Is the $500,000 for firefighter payroll? Correct, or not?
For 2023,
Yeah,
Right,
Depending on our staffing levels, this year is gonna be pretty accurate.
is 500,000 the number that you want for the budget for 2023?
Right, that's just what they.
Okay, then all this other conversations are irrelevant at this point. Because the budget he's asking for is 500,000. This amendment and doing all this other stuff is to play with the number where we have quote a board policy that says you need to be within 40 to 60% of expenditures. It's not going to change the budget.
correct.
What it does do is it makes us look at it and say, okay, in order to stay within our board policy, we have to do these kinds of things, amendments. They're not, these are not part of the budget.
I disagree.
How can,
A little bit, so just a little bit. So these are part of the budget of what's actually happening in the year.
exactly.
We do amend the budget. I understand what you're saying about the fund, keeping the 40%. If that was only 300,000, he'd be fine. We would be fine. But that's part-times. That's paid on call. The 500,000 is only paid
okay,
on
what
call.
I'm looking at is right here, this is, you're looking at,
Yes,
to correct, 008 and 007 and 200 to 206.
706, 008,
So you've got, you're going from,
because they had overtime.
well, hear me out. We're talking about 2023. We're not talking about 2022, but all this conversation is about 2022.
Because, and the reason is because that,
But
that remaining fund balance.
but
is
that
very
has
small.
no bearing on the final budget. Because what
does,
happens
though.
is, what you're looking at is you're looking at calculations that show you where you're at, what you want to show. This is the whole reason for this. If you are less than 60% or less than 40%, you need to show that.
So it's like you.
So what
said, you
happens
start with
is
zero.
either you have to change your
Start with
budget.
revenue only.
I'm sorry, I can't listen to. you.
Let me
I can't
finish, let me
concentrate
finish.
on what you're saying.
You're showing quote negative spending. But is that negative spending covered? Now that's what this green box kind of shows. Are we covering that? And staying within our requirements? So the point is, the budget is one thing. This green box is not, your total expenditures and your total revenue are the two numbers that you're working on. But the differential between the two could say that you're not going to have enough money left over for the next year, so you're not going to meet your board policy, but that has no bearing on the budget itself
But
for
would-
2023. So what we're doing is we're playing this correction game to come up with a number that forces it to have a positive effect on the ending fund balance to maintain a minimum of 40%. So you're playing
You're
it.
right.
Now it's a it's a card game. In other words, you're playing a game with current numbers to maintain a budgetary ending fund balance.
But wouldn't we want a budget that falls within the policy?
Exactly. So what that says is you have to go through the whole budget for 2023 and say, are these numbers correct?
Exactly.
If they're correct, then we're doing deficit spending.
no,
We are
that's
not.
not.
Then you
Well,
need to-
no,
then you
let me
need to
finish.
figure out how to fix it.
Let me finish. It makes the statement that you're not meeting that number.
You're, spending on your
So,
savings.
and
account.
that's why we're having the discussion is, so how do you fix it? And so I see that the 700,000 went into the general fund.
And then it,
But wasn't the ARPA funds originally $2 million
yeah, but we can only spend 750 a year.
in a year?
Yes,
And so that's, I'm sorry, and you've
No, you're
explained it
fine.
to me
No.
5 times, but
so,
I'm not.
so that's why we're budgeting for that.
The 710.
But what I'm getting at is. We need to be very careful that we're looking at this from the right perspective. Yes, you want to make sure that your fund balance should be at 40%.
Yep.
If it's at 33%, it's fine.
I'm not saying it's.
No,
wrong.
let me finish. It's fine. Now, that just means that you're not in the hole. So the public can look at this and say, okay, you're not in the hole. But then we turn around on the backside and we slide out some other money over to another spot and we change that number to make it 40%.
If you put in the revenue that it's ARPA funds, that's very transparent. You're telling where the money came from.
That's correct. But what I'm trying to
And
get
again,
at
it's a
is,
one-time shot.
what I'm trying to get at is that the budget that you're putting together for 2023, ignoring this 40% and 60% thing is telling you something. And it's telling you that if you do the budget that you've said you're going to do, you're going to be short on that board policy. There's no law there other than our board policy. So are you actually telling the real story? Or are you, or should we be re-looking at how we're, and so
Or
this is what we're
there
getting
another-
at.
Or
So,
is there another part of the discussion? And what were you gonna say?
And-
Okay.
so what happens is we're doing these amendments to make that number look right,
We're doing.
which is okay. I'm not saying it's
We're
a
doing
bad
these
thing.
22,
amendments
you
to
have to
make
fix
22 look
22.
correct.
I mean, you have to fix 22. That's
Yeah.
what a budget amendment.
We're not doing this to get it to 40%.
No,
These two amendments we're doing tonight,
That corrects 2022, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is different than what we're discussing here.
I totally
Yeah.
agree with
Okay.
you.
so if, what I'm hearing is that if the board agrees with what the chief has presented, and chief agree, kind of think those are the numbers, 80-90%, as best he can propose, are we okay with that? You're saying we don't need to decide tonight to fix it with ARPA funds? Is that,
No, because what happens is when you make that amendment in 2022. With,
It's gonna change all the numbers.
it's gonna change all the numbers. So what'll happen is you're gonna take 2022 money. And you're gonna put it into the 2022 budget, which then is going to modify the thing, or
I think
you're
we're
gonna
gonna
have
put it in the
to.
23 budget.
Right, or you're gonna have to put it in the 23 budget.
You're gonna put the revised, what we think is the,
And
Okay,
appropriation
but
fund
let's go
balance
back to what I just said.
from.
If you
current
put
general
the
fund.
ARPA money into 2022,
No,
we're not putting in 22.
listen to me. If you put it in 2022, it correct it.
Yeah,
You don't have to put it in 2023.
but we have, correct.
So I think what he's saying is if we put the money in this year.
Yeah.
It fixes all the problems.
Right,
so your
For the next-
preference is to give them ARPA money this year instead of next year.
yeah.
That's fine. I don't care
Alright.
when we give it to them,
That would be a budget amendment that Amy would write.
right? So we can figure out what the number is. I just wanted to have a discussion on the principle of whether we agree with the idea of providing some ARPA money.
Well, this is,
to-
I mean, this is the right conversation.
Oh, it
because-
is, and it's the right place for it.
Right,
Yeah,
before
because three
we,
of us-
before we're under the gun to pass a budget. Is there any other thoughts on the principle of providing ARPA money to the fire fund?
No, because I think in reality, the whole CARES Act thing was designed to cover these kinds of things. That's what it's about.
I think the ARPA fund was intended to help fire safety, health and safety and
Whatever works.
police. And
So what we'll have to do is we'll come up with the numbers
You know, history
to
dates.
make that work,
I
and
don't.
then you start out clean.
You've already got the answers, but what we've already spent this year, you can- whatever you want.
But there's gonna be some flexes at the end of the year.
Right, and we can do it in December,
Okay, that's what,
and you can do it in the 13th month of 22 also,
you can make whatever cushion.
Right,
because we have a 13th and a 14th month in 22.
but before we,
Auditing.
I think,
purposes.
kind of what, Tammy and I had some discussion along with Jennifer is that When we approve this thing, the question is, are you approving 2023? Or are you approving this document?
No, just 2023.
So that's why you need,
We're doing
so what
projections.
happens, the reason I say put it in 2022 is because it's a budget amendment the board already approves. So
I'm good
we
with that.
make that budget amendment next meeting,
November, yeah.
and that corrects that number to bring the ending
Fund
fund
balance.
balance into alignment with
I'm totally good with that.
does that
I
sound
did
right?
not know
That works for me.
All right, so that's what we'll move forward to.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right.
Got it?
Actually,
Oh, that's good.
this is really
This is
one of the
where it
better,
is. I mean, it's right where that.
the better
conversation should be.
conversations, because it's the kind of thing where you look at how things have changed in the community, look at how the fires changed, look how our own operations have changed and are
Yep.
going to change.
Oh, it's gonna continue to change. yeah.
And then your revenue streams and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure that it probably would have been nice to have 2 mills instead of 1.85. But it's that game you play, you have to
What'd
play
you
that
say,
game.
Brian?
Yes.
We're already dealing with the inflation and COVID and everything else. We probably wouldn't ask for more, but we're still the same impact we were feeling with gas prices and everything else, so.
All right,
And food and
cool.
medical.
But it doesn't preclude
Yes, anyways.
additional funds in 2023 at a later point. I mean, you can always add stuff later. I mean, we don't know what's gonna transpire. Who was saying there was something worse coming? Was that you?
There's him.
You? Yeah, way to go. Thanks, here.
Just.
Missy, did you have some questions?
No. I'm
You're good?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so on that note, we can move on to the next item, which is declaring it's item number new business. Resolution 22-13 declaring surplus property and approving the sale thereof. As we've discussed in past board meetings, there is a parcel of property, vacant property on Woodside Drive. That came up on the foreclosure list. And what we were trying to do was accomplish putting that parcel together the way it should have been done back when Judy and I tried to make that happen, to Judy especially, a number of years ago. There were 2 parcels owned by the same family. One parcel.
Septic, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So the septic is now on, for that home is now on township property. And what we're trying to do is make it so that the current owners of the parcel that the septic field is being used by don't have to go through the expense of probably putting in a $30,000 or $40,000 field at this time. So by doing that,
Just
what,
that won't happen.
yeah, by doing that, well, it'll cause this parcel to get combined. So there is an agreement, Jennifer, right?
Yes, a resolution to approving the sale thereof.
Okay, so
And number one, the approves the purchase agreement is attached in the exhibit B. And that's here, and then also approves the supervisors authorized to sign the purchase agreement. And all documents necessary to complete the sale of the property.
okay, so there's a couple of motions.
Well, no, it's just, if you approve the resolution, you're approving all 3 of those things. You're approving the resolution
Oh, there
to
we go.
sale of the
Okay, that's
property. You're
Items
approving.
1 and 2.
Mhm.
That's additional. Okay,
So I make a motion to approve, does it have a resolution number?
22-13. 22-13.
2213. Declaring surplus property and approving the sale thereof. Vacant property located on Woodside Drive, Highland Township, Michigan.
Support how?
Okay, moved and supported. Any additional questions on that?
I could add the parcel ID number in down here. I didn't see it. It's on the purchase agreement. 11, 12, 131, 002 vacant Woodside Drive.
Still support.
We need to add that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, you're,
I'll support.
okay,
Right, right.
all right, any further discussion on that one?
Oh, no.
And enough of that.
Okay,
vote, please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
All votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, next item is
Two more.
budget amendments.
What's in your wallet?
What's in my water bottle?
Okay, first item,
Yep,
It should fall over.
all right,
I move to approve the budget amendment. Do I read the purpose? Where the purpose of the amendment after 2021 audit with the fund balance over 40 to 60% of expenditures. Decision to transfer $700,000 from general fund balance to capital improvement fund assigned. It's currently assigned.
Support Lewis.
you move and support it, vote please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
All votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Yes,
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next one.
I would move to approve the budget amendment for fire payroll as presented.
Support now.
Okay, move and support it, vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
oops, I'm sorry.
I didn't think so much.
Yeah,
Same for me.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hall votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick, are you still yes?
Yes,
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Yes.
motion carries. That's it.
All right. On that note, the meeting is adjourned.
yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for
I know.
attending this fine Zoom meeting. See ya.
Let me know when you're done recording.